Next up, a young lady who is in love with figure skating, Lindor chocolates, and of course, her mom's homemade pierogies.
Up next, Miss
Hi, my name is a little confusing for some people to pronounce, as you may have just seen with our MCs, so we'll get to that later. Now, most people, after hearing my name, the first thing they do is ask me what nationality I am, and I am Ukrainian. I was born in a small city called Drohobych in western Ukraine. My childhood consisted of chasing chickens on my grandmother's farm and skipping to school with my cousins. Our close family gathered together often for birthdays, holidays, and just about anything else you could celebrate. And we all lived just within a few steps of each other. But little did I know that soon our close family would be continents apart. Because one morning, I awoke to find my dad missing from our home. And he wasn't just gone to work for the day or gone to buy some groceries from the supermarket. After hearing from my mom that he was on a plane to Canada, the tears started to stream down my face. Because as a little 5-year-old girl, I didn't understand the courage that my dad had that day for leaving to Canada, or where Canada even was. And I didn't know that just 9 months later, my mom, my brother, and I would be on that same flight. But our transition to Canada went smoothly, at least for my brother and I. As kids, we were quick to embrace our new surroundings and adapt to a new culture. Playing in the fluffy white snow, we quickly fell in love with Canada. Although I can't say I feel the same way about the snow 12 years later. I immigrated to Canada with a very limited knowledge of English. I remember only knowing hello and I'm good, thank you, how are you? And as a child still learning the English language, my mom would read Ukrainian stories to me and she would encourage my brother and I to write in our native language. I remember coming home from school and spending hours with my mom going over the complex grammar rules of Ukrainian because she understood the importance of preserving our culture. Unfortunately, back then, I didn't. I remember one of my biggest fears as a child in elementary school was having a substitute teacher because the dreaded time would come at the beginning of class when the substitute would take attendance. And as she read down the names on the list, there would always be a long pause when I knew she was trying to figure out how to say my name in her mind before saying it out loud. And no matter how long she took to try to figure out my name, she still said it wrong anyways, just like our MCs. And my name is Yuliya, by the way, and my last name, Shcherban, is even more confusing for some people to say. And I can definitely see why it's hard to pronounce or read out loud for some people, but as a child, this was something that made me very self-conscious. Because back then, all I wanted was to fit in and be like all of my friends, Canadian. And this was a real challenge for me, because even if I did find a way to hide my Ukrainian background in the shadows, it would be exposed whenever I simply had to say my name. It felt like the world's headlights were shining brightly at me at a time when I felt so vulnerable. But as I grew older, my eyes were opened, and I started to see more of what my culture meant to my family and me, and I started to be less afraid of it. And there's one specific experience that sparked this feeling for me, and this also happened in elementary school. So everyone knows how delicious homemade Ukrainian pierogies are, and everyone at my school knew this as well. So whenever our class hosted a potluck, I always brought my mom's pierogies. And of course, people loved them, but more importantly, people began to be more curious about my background because of it. They would come up to me and they'd ask, "Oh, are these homemade? So you're from Ukraine, and when did you move to Canada?" And at first, I was so surprised by all of their curiosity and their questions, and I started to wonder that perhaps the part of me that I was so afraid to share with everyone was the same part that needed to be shared. I had so much of my culture to offer to the world, but as a little girl, I didn't know this because I hid behind a barricade that I built up by myself. And I did this because I was afraid to be different. But growing up, I realized that everyone is different. Everyone has a different family history, different experiences, different talents that make them unique. And if we just all embrace our differences, then being different would be the new normal, and no one would ever feel ashamed for something that should be celebrated instead. Moving to Canada gave my family many opportunities, but learning to embrace my Ukrainian culture while living here gave me just as much. Most notably, it gave me the opportunity to share my Ukrainian background at the Miss Ukrainian Canada Cultural Show 2018. This cultural show is an opportunity for me to inspire other Ukrainian people living in Canada to be proud of our culture while living in a different country and to embrace our traditions, because they are what make us who we are. Looking back at my life, I started out afraid to show my cultural background to even my closest friends. And now, I'm prepared to shine a spotlight at a platform where I can reach people from across Canada. But had I not learned to be proud of who I am, I would have missed out on this opportunity. So, what is light? Well, scientifically, because I've always liked math and science, scientifically, visible light is defined as the combination of the wavelengths of all the different colors. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But likewise, each person has a different combination of talents, experiences, a family history that make them unique. For me, personally, this is my Ukrainian background. The Ukrainian culture, traditions, and language are the beautiful colors of light within me that I'm no longer afraid of, and instead, proud to share with all of you tonight. Thank you.